If you're a business owner or senior manager, you probably had more than enough about all the wonderful opportunities awaiting you in the era of digitalization.
Whether it is big data, cloud, data science, or whatever buzzword is currently trendy.
If you would like to hear someone dissecting these claims and showing you what it actually takes to improve business processes, you're in the right place.
This is Between Data and Risk, where we discuss real-life examples of what works and what doesn't in the world of business operations.
Hello, I'm your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian, and with me is my co-host, Artur Cognition Shared Solutions Chief Risk and Strategy Officer. Welcome to Between Data and Risk. Today, we will take a look at the company culture and the contractors market. And we have with us Alexandros Joseph, business consultant from Talmix, who agreed to share some of his experiences with us. Hello, Alexandros.
Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Good.
It's great. It's really good to have you with us. We've been trying to get you into the podcast for quite some time now. And if I remember correctly, last time we spoke, you were dealing with supply chain and issues with that. But recently you changed into contracting and dealing with the people. So can you describe what you're doing now and why the change?
I'm sure, sir. First, I was working in supply chain and transportation projects for multiple companies. I used to help them with their operations, their management, help organizations to find cost savings, become more efficient. And now we are changing the switch towards serving the industry, helping companies to become digitally transformed, using much more advanced softwares, artificial intelligence, to find more efficient cost savings tools, helping startup companies by being switched to being a technology startup company and helping with their financial structure in order for them to have more leverage. So more of a business consultant position, sir.
Would you give us an example of what a startup can expect? What do you mean by changing? Actually, there are two questions. One is, when you are a startup, you have some idea for, new type of shoes or new bicycle. So how do you change that into AI? At what level do you need of startup you need to be to jump into AI startup, and how much of a pivot is it? And the second question, I think, interesting to our audience would be, okay, so, I'm a startup, I'm starting to run out of money. What does this financial restructuring entail?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a big question, actually. So the whole job is to find areas where you can improve the operation and the management, which it's creating a cost-efficient tools for the companies. It provides a return on investment from a financial standpoint, where you can cut corners, eliminating unnecessary steps in the operation, serving the customers in a more speedy way, make sure you have more access to services that you can provide to the clients with a higher quality. Most of all, we find time-saving methods. So we would be able to use less manpower, serving more clients, providing additional services and more type of services. Now we're pivoting into the new AI tools. This is a big pivot. It's not a small one. This is where you start within a new company with a new mentality. You approach the industry in a more advanced way. This is the difference between an old traditional C.H. Robinson mentality. Since the company started, it's named after Charlie Henry Robinson. It used to be a trucking company with a couple of tractors until it became a $10 billion annual income company. Now, the pivot is more, you find Uber company. It's going to help the customer in an untraditional, unorthodox way. So let me give you an example. When Uber wanted to start, they spent 5 years researching the market, collecting data.
Mm-hmm.
There was no even job opening in the market. They didn't need any employees or any manpower at all. They used artificial intelligence platform, collecting data from the market. They had competitors. Most of the traditional 3PL companies, third-party logistics, used to do the same by applying some transportation management system and warehouse management system. But they couldn't be as efficient as the business model of Uber. Even Amazon wanted to do Amazon freight brokerage platform as well, but they didn't launch it until today's date for unknown reason. So what Uber did, they kept collecting the data. They acquired more than 5 traditional transportation companies, and they used all the data from these five firms they have acquired over a time period of 5 years, and then they went public to the stock market with it, and they start opening the doors for manpower. So now you're using the platform. Instead of you order a regular taxi or a sedan, you're ordering a truck to move your freight. I have interviewed with a couple of companies. Some are confidential, some are not. These small companies use the same technology, but on a very small scale. But Uber have used it nationwide, 48 states of America. It's not applied yet for Alaska and Hawaii, but it's applied for 48 states in America.
Canada?
I guess, but I didn't see the trend. Yes, I'm not sure, but maybe I can check on that.
No, it's there's no need. No, it's really interesting story.
Yeah.
I thought that you actually moved, Artur.
I was going to ask probably the similar question, because we were under the impression that your base of operations and your focus moved a bit to UK, but you're mentioning the States. So how are you currently splitting your focus and your operations?
I was only telling you a small portion of my old experience on how to transit the market from a traditional 3PL using the new technology. It's a little bit more advanced than just a traditional TMS or a WMS by collecting the data. So what Uber does is the same thing as the other company did. What I'm trying to say is called mothership.com. So they have 10 employees only, and they have more than 200,000 locally freight orders. So I'm just trying to answer your question about the pivoting. Our company is based in UK, but we have project worldwide. We have some in Dubai, we have some in US, we have some in UK and other nations. So we're serving the global market, not just UK. We focus more on the transportation and supply chain arena. Some manufacturers would need some help. So what we offer them, we look at their data, we analyze all their invoices, including freight invoices, warehouse invoices. We see if they use any technology, if they have any extra costs they're paying related to, IT, warehouse renting or warehouse structuring, real estate, transportation bills from ocean and air and trucks, and if they don't have any advanced technologies they use. Some of them even have a customs issue we have to take a look at. But mainly it's transportation, what we focus on, and some supply chain issues related to manufacturing.
And
basically,
So is your view that the help that you provide with these companies is more of a Kaizen style, small improvements that accumulate, or is it a big bang approach where it's a full restructuring of their operation to pivot into a completely new area or direction?
Can you repeat the first half part of the question? You said the Kaizen model.
Yes, like small improvements that accumulate into bigger.
It's a good question. We used to use a Six Sigma approach and the lean manufacturing and Kaizen approach and the 5 S's back in the days. That was 15 years ago. But now we focus on more total restructure. Sometimes we rearrange the distribution lanes for the whole company. See where is pick up and drop off points. If we have to relocate the DC transportation centers, sometimes we sell the real estate, sometimes we rent a new one. We do a whole restructuring from a freight distribution standpoint, and we look at the bills if there is any unnecessary charges they're getting overcharged. Sometimes we look at the rates in the market, see if there is any competitor have better rates for them on a 12 months basis contract, not just for one bill or one invoice. As example, if a company paying $20 million annual freight cost, that could go down by 40 to 50%. But we maintain the same quality of the service they're getting.
My question would be, because when you are, operating globally and when we are talking about, let's say, international freight, I wonder, what's your take on the situation that I've heard just this week when it comes to transporting goods and associated risks? I've heard the stories where someone sent the freighter from China with expected tariff of $3,000, and before it got to the port of where it was heading, the tariff was suddenly $130,000. So do you have some risk models included? Because we also work for some supply chain companies, and some of them we try to convince them to implement advanced risk modeling. They said, yeah, our clients are actually mainly the US. It's a stable relation. We don't need that. So how the recent events actually are reflected in in your experience?
Well, that's a good question. That's a political agenda right there. We're going to have to discuss that with US President.
I would prefer not, if I can. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, it's
I don't have a full suit.
Yes, neither do I. It's a difficult situation, of course. There was a similar one when COVID-19 hit. The maritime ocean carriers didn't change their ocean rates, which means a container can go, as example, between US and China for 3,020 TEU and $5,000 for 40 TEU, 20 equivalent foot. 20 foot and 40 foot was 3,000 and 5,000. But what's end up happening, the freight forwarding companies like Kuehne and Nagel have been overcharging an additional $15,000. So now the container is $20,000. So any import and export company have lost 40 to 60% of their profit margin, but they had to take this loss until the market stabilize again, and it take about 1 to 2 years. It was very easy for us to look at the numbers, but it was very difficult for the cargo owner to make profit. So the profit went from 80% down to 40%, but they had to take this challenge, and they needed to keep their customers happy for 24 months until the ocean carrier restored everything. And they said, we never overcharged our clients. It is the contracted freight forwarder, but we can cancel the contract with them. But the problem is, if that happen, the carrier cannot run empty. The boats will be running empty. They need to be fully loaded. So the sales broker as a freight forwarder job is to collect a lot of data in order to make sure they're almost fully booked, but it never happened. They're usually 75% fully booked. Now, with the new tariffs comes in with the U.S. Political agenda kicking in, it's a difficult scenario. What we can do, the risk model that they can use is they can adjust the prices for the same shipment or the next shipment. So the final price of the product will increase on the customer. So they have two options here in a very short time frame. Either they can lose some freight money only for one shipment and return the product and we can store it in a warehouse until we stabilize the market and we recharge the same clients and see how it goes, or we can just make a very little profit margin.
If it's still a profit, it's still a profit.
What you can do, you can store it in a warehouse at the destination, and you can just wait and see if the customer is willing to pay for it. But remember, the chain will go from everything from raw material to high-end product to military products, from food to military products. If it's going up or down, it's almost the same percentage worldwide in 222 nations, even if you ship it to a small island like Fiji. This is a very difficult question to answer. We need more than 12 months to address the prices.
Whoa,
but what you can do, you can use a warehouse cost until you stabilize the final product prices. But the shipping is the same. The inventory cost is the same. All of this. What you can do, you can ship by a larger quantity. So you would have a bulk shipment for less cost. So the freight savings will cost less, but you have to consolidate it.
I've got another question. Actually, when we were consulting companies, the problem that we often encountered was the change management and ensuring that some processes that we proposed and some changes are stable rather than not. How do you do this? How do you make sure that, when you enter the company and you propose something new and people are used to do things, the old way for the last 20 years, what's your recipe for the lasting change?
We're talking about change in general, not for a specific area.
Yeah, but, I think the biggest problem is people are creatures of habit. Wherever you consult and want to change some processes, old people will want to do things the old way.
That's a good question.
You encountered, we encountered it.
It's a very sensitive area here you're talking about. Yes, we work with risk takers. If they're not willing to take the risks, they're not willing to learn. And you can start small with them. It is the easiest approach. Let me give you a small example. The big 4 or big 7 consulting companies like Deloitte want to install any software. They make $50 billion a year by selling 4 different type of services, including one of them is information technology and being a consultant for them. That means 70 or 80% of small companies worldwide, even in US, they don't use the technology. That means the product of Microsoft and Google is not being fully used or efficiently used. So you can just install small softwares, regular type, and start with them, including Microsoft Office, until you go advanced by applying SAP and Oracle and full ERP system for the companies and integrate all the modules together. So it is very difficult to change the mindset of someone or a department or a company if they're not willing to take the risks. But you can start with very small steps to address the change. But remember, if you really look at the details for the most advanced artificial intelligence or any software platform on the planet, it's not meant to replace you as a human, but it's meant to help you with what you're doing. So it might find you cost savings, might help you to do your job more efficient, smoother, more quicker. So even if it didn't decrease the manpower, it will help you to get more clients. So as an individual or as a company, you will have much more revenue with a larger client base, maybe for a smoother process. But you need to look at the details. But yes, change is not something easy. And this is how you make billions of dollars go from million to a billion and from billion to trillion. So 10 years ago, most of the S&P 500 didn't worth $4 trillion like Apple and Amazon and Google. They used to be a couple of $100 billion.
So I want to challenge you a bit, because we're talking here about very, very interesting subjects, which are obviously across a lot of industries. Supply chain is a big topic, but to me, it sounds like you're approaching it from both a kind of AI data perspective, but as well, it seems to me like the service you're providing is very much a kind of a supply shipping management. So where do you see your focus being more on providing data intelligence to your clients or providing the expertise in shipping?
No, I focus more on all the intelligence information on the shipping industry. And it depends on the project. Most of the platforms we work on, it's request from the clients. Some of them just want to install an ERP system. Some of them want it from Germany. Some of them are buying from a third-party vendor in Bangladesh or Pakistan. They want to have cost savings, but they want to have someone to mentor their employees. This is a small company. Usually, these type of projects are the product of a private equity company, like Blackstone or any subsidiaries. They go in, they improve the companies, they want to put some funds, restructure it, grow it, have more skilled employees, things like that. But a small project would be just finding more competitive rates. Installing software that you could use over a weekend between the pickup and drop-off points. So if you have a third party, a medical provider or a trucking carrier or a airport warehouse, they're able to communicate efficiently by using any IT platform. They don't have to buy it. They can just pay subscription for it, and the shipment go more smooth toward it. So usually the clients come to us with this request, and there is 1,000 of them. That means 90% or 70% of the market are small companies, and they don't have much access to the technology. When we expand to other area beyond supply chain, usually it's related to IT or related to finance or to market growth. And they want to find a growth hacking methods on how to have more resources and leverage their whole company resources to have more clients.
Okay.
But this is a very crowded market, right? That you've just described. Singapore, Dubai, even Houston. They're huge hubs for these kind of companies that provide these kind of services. So, what is your unique selling point? If I'm a client now looking for these kind of services, how would you convince me to go with specifically your offering?
Finding you supply chain cost savings tools, which what we call ROI, return on investment. What we do, we see if we can make the process smoother for you. Take less time, have more data available to the market, make sure your information is exposed to more carriers so you can have better rates. See exactly where are the restriction points that we can eliminate for you. So it's all
Okay.
come to supply chain, from a customer's problem to a carrier rate to install a software and train the employees, eliminate any waste in the distribution process, make sure it's efficient. Usually the distribution lanes are a very big problem we have to deal with. We have to arrange it. Sometimes it just takes 6 months.
Well, that's quite an investment. But you said about software. Some of the software you buy a subscription and it's plug and play. I think it was passé like 15 years ago, this saying. But you buy a subscription, you just use it, and you train a person or two to use it. Some companies that you mentioned, like in IT and finance, they probably have a bit more advanced software needs, especially when we spoke about this AI transformation. How about maintenance and development of this own software? Do you help people, because it's easy to buy in a sense, right? So you just shell out some money, but then you need IT team to make sure that it's developed, that it's maintained, that it's secure. Do you help your clients with this additional burden? Because of course it's an investment. There is, as you mentioned, ROI, pretty well known in business acronym. What about this additional cost of operations? Operational cost.
Okay. So you consider the software investments as an additional cost as a company, correct?
Yes, if I have additional software, I probably need some additional people to maintain it. If it's not a subscription, because if it's just a subscription, then I don't know how much is it for supply chain software, but I guess a couple of thousand a year, and I just use it. But if I want something customized, if I want something in-house, if I want to turn truly AI, I need some people who actually know about AI. I need to get this team and to make it cost efficient. So the question is, how do you approach this angle?
Well, you already get to the point before I answer. In order to have a cost efficient module, usually the software need to have a lot of resources and a lot of options to use, including integration with whatever systems you have. It could be for VoIP calls, to SMS, to emails, going to the finance department for the CFO to review. So when you install a module from a famous ERP system and you choose any module of it, could be the supply chain, could be the finance, there is a third party consultant that is certified by the IT vendor itself, the software company. And the job of the consultant is to train the employees and be a retainer on call if they need any service. This way you can avoid the maintenance fee, and you just either you buy a portion of the software and you keep it in your company and you pay the consultant whenever you need, or you just pay a subscription and you don't have to buy it. And software providers, they provide the training directly to the customer, and sometimes you go to a third party. The third party including SAP vendors, Oracle, and even CargoWise for TMS. But it's very rare that a company buys their own software, or actually they ask an IT engineer to design it for them and put it in-house. They want to have a hassle-free business model. I used to work for Matson Logistics. They have their own IT department based out of an Asian nation. I'm not sure if it's India or Philippine. And usually they have a back office support. It's a high quality back office support with a very little cost. So if you have one employee in US, you have 10 in India, and that's serving 400 agents and one broker and 22 shipping boats going from California to Hawaii and Alaska and China. So it's a very efficient system model. But there was an occasion where a company it was a private equity backed project where a company in US having hospital services and provide beds and things like that. They needed to have an ERP model. So they asked software company in Bangladesh to do it for them. So they own their own software, and whenever they need support, it's remotely done. There is so many options you can use, but you can't just pay $10 million to SAP and think it's okay. No, they work on a global scale, and they all have vendors, certified third vendors for training and installation.
Okay.
So maybe a final question, because now speaking a lot about the software, if I understand correctly, the secret sauce in this is not the software itself, it's the data you feed into it, right? Having all the intelligence, like you mentioned with Uber, it's all the data that they gathered. They didn't have some magical software that did it. It was the data that gave them the advantage.
That's correct, 100%. You need to find quality service for a lower rate, and it need to be available on a 12 months basis. It include custom clearance, inland transport, and either ocean and air to connect it internationally. And if you have any expensive distribution lanes, if you have any related bulk cost for a warehouse storage, that usually eats 60 to 70% of the freight invoice.
Hey, so do you have anything that you would also, as a final thought, would want to share with the listeners, and something that would really kind of drive the point home for them and make sure that they have something to go home and think about?
Okay. Well, just look for it from a future standpoint where you want to improve someone's life. Just put yourself in that situation, and you will be able to find very effective, very efficient solutions that can help. Always be open to learn. Always be humble. Technology is not difficult at all. It's come back to binary code, 0 and 1s. You can use any system in the world. Elon Musk was able to launch space rockets faster than Boeing. 10 times. So Boeing make a program for 5 years, but Elon Musk do it in less than 6 months to a year. So you can get to the goal that you set to yourself.
Some even landed back.
Yes.
Not many, but some of them did.
Yeah, and he have no one from NASA to help him, but he did it. So I found the same project in small companies, same as in large corporations, including the top 10 worldwide. So my takeaway is always be humble, always be optimistic, always look for the solution, not the problem, and you will be always ahead of your competitors. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much. This was really interesting insight into the kind of shipping and supply chain world. As we always say in this podcast, let's hope it was of use to someone. And to our viewers and listeners, thank you for listening. To make sure that you don't miss our next episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast platform.
You can also check out Cognition.lc for more information on Cognition Share Solutions, our services, and our events hosted by us.
For now, it's thank you from myself, Artur Guya, and my co-host, your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian.
Thank you and goodbye.